Hey, happy Saturday. This is Greta Ross with Mind, Body, Soul Shift. Welcome to the show. Today, we are still talking about the pillars. There were 7 pillars that we spoke about, and we're going to continue our conversation about the pillars. But today, we are going to be talking about the financial pillar. And the reason why we were looking at the pillars, but let me just go over all of them again: nutritional, emotional, social, spiritual, intellectual, financial, and environmental. There were 5 of them that I said that we were going to specifically look at, and that is nutritional, which we covered last week, emotional, spiritual, financial, and environmental. So today we're going to be talking about the financial pillar. I want you to get your pen and pad and take notes, because I asked you to examine each one of those pillars a couple weeks ago. So I want you to kind of compare your notes to where you are in your financial pillar to see if there's any cracks or any type of weaknesses that may create problems for you in your physical well-being. So this is Greta Ross with Mind, Body, Soul Shift. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back to talk about the financial pillar. Hey, Greta Ross here. We're back with Mind, Body, Soul Shift. We're going to talk about the financial pillar this week, and I hope that since we started the series that you did write down some things that you wanted to possibly examine in your life that may be affecting your well-being, your physical well-being, and it's related to your finances. And that's the reason why the financial pillar is one of the important structures that we have in our life, because you want to be on the path to wellness, and this is a pillar that does affect a lot of people's lives, and that's why we want to talk about it. So as I'm doing my research, I really wanted to know, where do I start with this whole financial pillar. But one of the things that I thought would be helpful would be to try to understand some risks that we could avoid, that brings that financial stress brings about. Because just doing my own personal research, I found that if we have like any type of major financial breach, if you will, kind of unexpected, that can throw everything off, not just financially, but mentally, emotionally. Everything changes. A lot of stuff can shift because of that, and that has a lot to do with our metabolic syndrome. Okay, because that can affect the condition of us being prone to heart disease, diabetes, or even stroke, all because of the stress that we put ourselves under because of our financial situation. So if it was something major and it was a setback and you're trying to figure out how you're going to fix it, that can create stress, which can affect your health, which makes you prone to heart disease, diabetes, and stroke. The financial stress can be difficult, particularly for people, because what a lot of people will do is they will adopt bad habits. It's kind of like a mechanism where some people will just like overeat, because they're stressing about money, and they don't know that's why they're overeating. And then there's other things that people will pick up, which we'll talk about that along the way. But 33% of Americans have reported eating unhealthy food when they're dealing with stress when it's related to money. And that leads to other things. We talked about the nutritional pillar last week. So now we're seeing how that piece of the puzzle is fitting in even to the financial side of it, because now you're picking up a bad habit of eating unhealthy. And then another 45% of people lay awake at night at least once a month thinking about their finances. At least once a month. Money worries can take over your mind. Financial stress not only affects your ability to function, but you can't even think straight to even figure out what your next move should be. So that's why this pillar is so important, because it consumes so many other things, like even your nutritional health and your emotional health. So that's the reason why the financial pillar is something that you have to examine, because it may be even causing stress that you're not even aware that it's causing in your physical being. So what you want to do is you want to take a look at where you are, okay? Where you are financially, and everybody's different. Everybody's in a totally different place. So this is something only you will be able to do, only you know. And if you're married, of course, you can sit down with your spouse and do this. But you have to take a look at where you are financially, and be real about it. Put everything down on paper so that way you'll know where you are. You'll know exactly where the weak link is, because you have to be able to identify that. Because you want to get rid of the stress. You don't want to keep laying awake at night. I don't care if it is once a month. Who wants to lay awake at night once a month? So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're looking at the whole situation, what you're bringing home and what you're spending out. You have to come to an understanding of what got your pillar to become weak. Because evidently it was something that you kept doing over and over and over again that created a weak link in your pillar. So what you have to do is you have to be able to identify what that link is. And then you have to sit back, and once you identify it, then you have to make plans on trying to handle it and fix it, to make changes on strengthening that pillar, to improve that so that you don't have a weak pillar, so it doesn't keep you up at night. Now, here's one of the things that I want to talk about, but we're going to take a break. But I want to talk about the B word, which is budget, which most people don't. You know, I think people take more time to plan their grocery list and their vacation versus a budget for their life, you know, for 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years. You know, most of us don't, because it's something that, you know, no one really sat down and taught us. You know, some people were fortunate enough to learn that at an early age, and most people weren't. So we're going to talk about budgeting when we come back, and how important it is, and how it can help save you from being prone to heart disease and stroke and diabetes. So this is Greta Ross of Mind, Body, Soul Shift. We'll be right back. Hey, Greta Ross, we're back. We were talking about the B word, budget. Most of us don't live on a budget, but it's really necessary, because statistics show that 70% of households live paycheck to paycheck. That's 70% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and that's why budgeting is so important, because it's easy to live above your means. Thinking that it's something that you need when you really don't need it. But you have to sit down and make a budget. It's absolutely necessary for your financial health, which is affecting your physical health. So sit down and make a budget, but be realistic. And when I say realistic, I mean put down everything from hair, nails, you know, the Jordans that you buy, everything. You know, if you have a budget that you say, well, you know, I have an allowance of, you know, $100 a month where I can spend on whatever I want. Well, you know what, put that down on paper too, because I can almost guarantee you probably have some discretionary income that you're not even cautious that you even have. So we're going to kind of look at all that stuff too. But when you make out a budget, put everything on there, what you're bringing in, what you're spending out, everything, put everything down, because you have to be realistic. So that way you will know where the weak link is. So once you write all that down, then you will follow it. Okay, now that may be a little bit, may take a little getting used to. But here's the thing about having a budget. There's no need to have it if you're not going to follow it. You want to follow the budget because it's going to save you in the long run. So let's say you're trying to get out of debt. You know, you have some credit card that you just want to pay off. Okay, so you pay off the credit card debt, but then what are you doing with the money? And we're going to talk about that kind of stuff. So that's why when you make a budget, you have to put everything down. So that way you will see where the weak link is. Because there's some things you'll see on your list that you'll be like, well, I don't really need that. You may think you need it, but then once you really look at your list and you see the things that you really need, the essentials, then you'll understand what I mean. But make a realistic budget. It has to be realistic. And then once you look at the budget, then you can sit there and then you can come up with a plan to execute the plan so that you can fix it so that you won't lay awake at night. Chronic stress has been directly related to money, to money, lack thereof, I should say, for some people. But if you want to help to improve your well-being, your physical being, then you want to really look at what is the root of your stress. And for some people, it is financial. Poor financial checkups leads to the risk of heart attacks, ulcers, and sleep disorders. Staying awake at night thinking about it. You don't want to lay awake at night, but your mind is just going so rampantly that you just can't turn it off because you're trying to figure out, you're trying to come up with a plan. I know I've been there. I get it. But the thing is that laying there and staying awake at night, you're creating a habit of not sleeping, which is going to create other problems. So that's why it's so important to fix the weak link. So you may have credit card debt or mortgage payments or even unpaid medical bills that may seem directly linked to your credit, but it's also directly linked to your physical well-being, especially if those things are consuming your mind and you're thinking about this unpaid medical bill or your mortgage is overdue. That's going to consume your mind because I don't think anyone would stay in a house, for 3 months knowing that there's a possibility of getting foreclosed on. That's not a comfortable feeling. 62% of Americans report that being stressed about money could put them at a higher risk for low quality health care. Now you're looking at pre-existing conditions. So you have a job, you have insurance, but then while you're on that job, you develop high blood pressure. Then you go to another job to get insurance. Now it's going to be more expensive. You know why? Because you have a pre-existing condition. So you see how things just kind of have the trickling effect? So in the long run, you're spending more money that you're already on a budget with, whether you wrote it down or not. It's still a budget whether you write it down or not. Hopefully you know that. Researchers have shown that money worries has been directly connected to your health. Financial stress has been linked to migraines, cardiovascular diseases, absence from work, insomnia, and so much more. It's also been shown that the stress of money has a negative effect on your emotional and your mental health, which can lead to depression and other mood disorders like bipolar. So you see how this can just lead to one thing to another. That's why if there's a weak link in your financial pillar, you want to fix it. Because if you're staying awake at night, or if you're putting yourself in a position where you become prone to cardiovascular diseases or migraines, now you're having to go to the doctor to get a prescription, which you're spending more money that you already don't have for the copay and for the prescription. You see, it's a vicious cycle. That's why you have to fix the pillar. Because the migraine is being caused because you're stressing about money. So we got to get to the root of it. Fix the problem. Because the migraine, you going to the doctor getting the pill, that's a Band-Aid. Developing cardiovascular disease, taking medication is a Band-Aid. You got to fix it, because taking the medication and not fixing the financial pillar, you're just taking a pill. Laying awake at night, night after night after night after night. You have to take a pill to go to sleep, a pill to get up, because you won't fix the financial pillar in your life? It physically hurts to be economically insecure. Let me say that again. It physically hurts to be economically insecure. Just let that set in for a minute. Just let me park there for 1 second. Physically hurts. Physically hurts. That's why you have to fix the financial pillar, because it affects your physical health. The migraines, the cardiovascular disease, you have a weak link in your financial pillar. Identify what it is, and then come up with the plan, and then execute the plan so you can strengthen the financial pillar. That's one less thing that you'll have to concern yourself with. People are more likely to experience health problems, emotional problems, and even mental problems, issues, with financial issues than people that are not. So what I'm saying is that people who are in debt are more than likely will face health issues, emotional issues, and mental issues versus the people who are not. Financial issues, you also have a greater risk for depression, alcohol dependency, drug dependency, and psychiatric issues. Now, all those things right there is going to cost you money. So you see how the financial pillar is so important, because if you're having depression, you're going to go to the doctor, you're going to get treated for it. If you have an alcohol dependency problem, you're going to go into a treatment center. If you have a drug dependency problem, you're going to go get treatment for it. If you have psychotic issues, you're going to go get treatment for that as well. All that's going to cost you money. That's why you have to get your financial pillar in order, because your physical health is being affected by it. People coping with ongoing mental and physical health issues may be experiencing financial problems due to the costs associated with paying for their health care. So not only do you have a health condition, now you have to pay for the expense of that. And health care is very expensive. I'm a veteran, so I get to go to the VA hospital to get treatment. So I don't have the out-of-pocket expense. However, I do know that healthcare is very, very expensive. If you have a family of four, you're easily paying $400 or $500, maybe even more than that. I haven't been in the insurance industry in a few years, but we're going to talk about that because I was in the insurance industry, and that's how come I know how all this is linked together. But, when we are going through changes in our financial issues, it leads to so many other things. Our health is affected. We're paying more for health care. We got to pay for out-of-pocket expense. It's a vicious cycle. We got to fix the pillar. Once we fix the pillar, we won't have that connected to our health. Now, we might have something else, but we're going to work on that too. But right now, we're focusing on the financial pillar. This is Greta Ross. We're going to be right back. Hey, and we're back here, Mind, Body, Soul Shift. Greta Ross. Before the break, I was talking about my ebook that was actually published on January 1st, 2017. The name of the ebook is The Struggle Was Real Until. And when I wrote the ebook, I was actually in the financial arena, more in the independent insurance agent side, which I found really fascinating. I know people think life insurance, but believe me, it's a very fascinating world. I learned a lot about it, but it inspired me to write this book because of the challenges that I was, facing being an African American woman in that industry. So I kind of wrote this book. The ebook. It's a short read. It's only 49 pages long. It's only like 5 short chapters. Nothing, over the top. It's not a novel or anything. But what I did was I started out just kind of sharing, the beginning, which is, how I grew up and the principles that my grandparents taught me and the rules and the guidelines and, certain things that we had to do as children. That I carried through my life and didn't realize the things that I was taught. So I kind of share that in my book, and I also share about when I left home and how I ended up in Dallas, Texas, and and then when I got here, because I was pretty much always an entrepreneur, but I kind of shared that at that point getting here I didn't have a job or anything, so I was kind of behind the 8 ball. It's like, okay, well, what do you do, girl? It's like, you got to do something. You have a child, she got to eat, you got to have a place to live, because we just kind of came here with money in our pocket, didn't have a GPS, didn't have a cell phone, didn't have any of that. I just printed out the directions to Dallas, Texas, got in the car and I drove, and didn't even have a job or a place to live or anything, but all that's in the book. Just kind of talking about, changing of the guards and how I had to go from being, an entrepreneur pretty much all of my adult life, other than being in the military, to having to go work in corporate and, how that was. And, I kind of shared all that in the book, and, and then I realized that, I was kind of destined to be an entrepreneur. But then it was just kind of a rough life. But I just kind of, talked about all that because I think that, when you're an entrepreneur, you don't always, see the glory. It's a long, hard road. But, I wanted to share, my experience in it, and then I kind of got to the whole stumbling through life thing. And that's where the whole financial thing came in at. Just kind of talking about, yes, I learned principles at a young age. My grandparents taught me certain things, but, just kind of getting into the world, just doing life and, life doing me, a lot of things I just kind of got away from and, just fell by the wayside, if you will. Didn't practice it, didn't do it. So therefore, it was just one of those things like, but all that I share in the ebook because I think it was important to understand, why I even wrote the book. Because you have to understand the beginning to understand. It's like, well, the whole train of thought thing, basically. So I just kind of, and chapter 4 is where I really kind of get down to the end of chapter 3 is kind of where I start, where it's like, start where you are type of thing. And that you need a strategy and a plan. And then chapter 4 goes into start where you are. You're not going to be 21 forever. Save money on as far as your health is concerned. I even, spoke on that. And at that point in time, I really wasn't even, promoting health and wellness at that time. But it was an important subject. And it was even worth mentioning even in my ebook over 2 years ago. How, once you get the plan, that you have to execute the plan because tomorrow is your future. And if you want to live a comfortable future, then you have to plan for that. And then I talk about chapter 5 is basically about the biblical principles, which I'm going to talk about, but basically that. But some of the things that I do want to talk about is, to basically just kind of get started wherever you are, wherever that is in your financial, life. Just be honest with that, wherever that is. And come up with the budget and write it down. I mean, I can't stress that enough. That's going to be one of the things that's going to help you, that's going to direct you to get on the path to mending and repairing your pillar. And you definitely want to make sure that that's healthy so that you don't spill over to all these other things. So start where you are and start with the budget. If you know that this is your weak pillar, then in order to know that you're going to prevent things from happening in the future, long term, 5-10 years down the road, you would do it. I mean, I would think that you would do it. So, taking a look at this and making some changes in your finances, that's where you start. And then once you start there, then you got to come up with a plan and a strategy. Because it's just like, okay, so let's say whatever city you live in, you have a major highway, so here we have like 635, we have 183, we have 360. Those are like major roads, major freeways. Okay, so if I want to get back to North Carolina, there's a certain way, certain direction that I have to go to get there, right? And usually 30 east is going to take me back east. Okay, but if I went 360 north, not to say that I couldn't get to 30 east from 360 north. However, 360 north is going to take me a lot longer to get to my destination than if I just took 30 east. Okay, so what I want to say with that is, when we're driving down the highway of our financial life, there's exits, just like on the highway. Now, I can get on 30 East and I could drive probably almost from here to Florida, just kind of connecting to different freeways. But I'm going back east, okay? But I have to get on the highway that's going to take me in that direction. So in order for you to get in the direction to fix your financial pillar, you have to sit down and recognize, identify what the link is so that you can repair it. Because you just getting off on any exit on 30, if I'm trying to get to North Carolina and I exit in Arkansas, well, guess what? I haven't reached North Carolina. Not to say that, hey, I may want to go take a break, go to a rest stop, or get something to eat. That's okay. I can take the exit, do that. But that's not my final destination. So staying at that exit is not going to benefit me. So I have to continue on the path to North Carolina, which means I have to get back on 30 and continue back east. Continue east. That's what I have to do. That's what we have to do with our financial issues. We have to identify what they are, then we have to come up with a strategy and a plan, and then we have to execute the plan. Because the thing is that, and it's a principle, this is nothing new. I didn't rewrite the book, you know what I'm saying? This is not new. And, everybody probably heard it at least once in their life about budgeting, starting where you are, there's so much information out there on the World Wide Web, but it doesn't matter if you're 40, 50, or 60, just start where you are, because you got to start somewhere. Because not starting it's not fixing the problem. It's not helping it. So yes, get started somewhere. You may be older and you may be saying, well, my concern is that I'm going to be retiring soon. Yeah, well, probably something you should have given consideration to about 20 years ago. And not to say that it's too late, but now you're in hustle mode. Now you're having to do something. Whereas before you could have been on cruise control. Now you could have said, you know why? Because now you would have been used to saying, okay, this is going to be set aside for my retirement. I'm not going to touch that. I'm just going to leave that over there. But let me let you in on a little secret. The reason why most of us haven't done that. And the reason why is because it's really, really, really associated and affiliated with tithing, okay? And we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. And I'm going to share with you what I mean by how we don't set aside money for the latter years of our lives. And I'm going to share why. This is Greta Ross with Mind Body Soul Shift. We'll be right back talking about the financial pillar. Don't go away. Hey, Greta Ross, Mind, Body, Soul Shift, and we're back. I just want to make sure that everybody know, I don't want to be getting no nasty emails and no inboxes and all that stuff. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just really just trying to bring awareness. I really want you to look at. I want you to look at, because hey, I have to do it. But in order for my financial pillar to stay strong, hey, I have to do it. And you do too. Ain't none of us above that. None of us are. If we want to stay healthy, we got to examine every area of our life. And the finances has a big part to play in that. It really does. So here's a scenario for you. Let's say you are a single mother and your child gets sick. They call you from school and they tell you got to come and get your child because your child is sick. Okay. Number one, you don't have no PTO time, you don't have no sick time, and you don't have no vacation time. So now you got to leave work and take your child to the doctor, which means you're not going to get paid for that. Okay? You get to the doctor, you got to pay $50 that you already don't have, and then you have to go get a prescription. And then the doctor tells you that your child has to be out of school for the next 4 days, which means you have to be home for the next 4 days. Okay, so now with no PTO, vacation, or sick time, that means your check is going to be short, boo. Short. Something is not going to get paid. Because you're short. You didn't work the hours, so you can't get paid. You don't have the time. And there are so many people, because statistics show that 70% of American households live paycheck to paycheck. 70%. That scenario is in the 70%. Because now she's spending money that she doesn't have a full prescription and having to go take a child to the doctor. Then she has to be out of work. So now that means that all her bills are going to be thrown off you. So now she got to sit here and figure out, am I going to rob from Peter or am I going to rob from Paul? Not rob from Peter to pay Paul. Am I going to rob from Peter or am I going to rob from Paul? Because now at this point you got to rob for both of them. Because you don't have it. Now you're going to get back to work and you're working like crazy to try to make up for the time so you can get caught up on your bills. Yeah, you got a headache. Yes, you have a migraine. Yes, you cannot sleep at night. Because you don't want to go to eviction court. You know that you're going to be behind. You know that your account going to be short. Rent time. Yes. But see, that's why it's important for us to put 10% aside. So now we're going to get down to the principles, the biblical principles here. The number one principle is that God is our source. Number one. Number one. He is our source. We own nothing. Mr. and Mrs. Multi-billionaire, I know your account has a lot of zeros at the end, but he says we own nothing. And he owns everything. Number two. Number three, live within your means. That's scripture. It's biblical. I'm not telling you nothing that's not. All these principles are biblical. Number four, give. Number five is a principle, plan and budget. Save and invest. That's biblical too. Live debt free. That's biblical too. Be content. Another biblical principle. Work hard, but understand what your work is. Your work is your purpose, not your job. We're going to get to that at some point in time, but your work is not your job. A job is a journey of the broke. That's what a job is. And I know people need a job. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying your work is your purpose. If you tap into your purpose, you'll never really work a job. You'll just work in your work. But we'll talk about that on another show. When it comes to your finances, even the Bible says seek godly counsel. Now, here's something that I want to share, and I found it to be pretty interesting. And I want to share it with everyone else. Especially when I find out facts that, but other people may not know. I love sharing that kind of stuff. Money is mentioned in 7,957 verses in the New Testament and 23,145 in the Old Testament. Let's rewind that. Money is mentioned in 7,957 verses in the New Testament and 23,145 in the Old Testament, making a total of 31,102 times that money is mentioned in the Bible. Now let me ask you this question. If money was mentioned that many times in the Bible, do you think it has any significant meaning in our lives? Real question. Ask yourself that question. If money is mentioned 31,000 times in the Bible, a book that was inspired by God himself, if it was mentioned that many times, clearly it has to mean something to God. And I'm like Solomon, I know money may not answer all problems, but Solomon says that money answers all things. Listen to the scripture. Money answers all things. Things. Can't get glasses without money. Can't even get this little remote for my phone, for my camera, without money. Money answers all things. Now, some organizations are quick to throw out the scripture and totally misquote it, that money, the love of money is the root of all evil. Well, no, let me take it back. They say money is the root of all evil, but the word actually says the love of money. When you make money your God, when you put money above everything else, when money is your only source, that you don't have no other source, you don't even try to see no other source or even understand, then that is the root of all evil. That is. Not the money itself. What we do with the money is what makes it evil. That's what makes it evil. But it can be evil if God mentions it 31,000 times in His word. His word. Now, how are we going to argue with that? How are we going to sit back here and declare that money is evil? How we do that? Somebody explain that to me. Because it's not. Because Solomon says, who was the wisest man that walked the earth, of course next to God and Jesus, but money answers all things. It's in Ecclesiastes. Go look it up for yourself. But I'm not making this up. It's just a word. So if money answers all things, then we need to get our financial pillar in order so it can answer those things. So we don't keep getting migraines from things. And we don't keep getting hypertension from things. And we don't keep getting diabetes from things. Because money answers all things. Get an understanding of what the word is saying. Because God mentions money 31,102 times in his testaments. In his testaments. So clearly, it has to be important. But he also knows that if money answers all things, we have to get an understanding. We gotta know what we need to do. That's why we have to be prepared. That's why I love the story in the Bible about the 10 virgins. You got 5 that was prepared, you have 5 that wasn't. And then you want to ask me that, nah, boo. You had the same opportunity to be prepared just like we did. But you chose not to be prepared. So now you get to miss out on it. So prepare your financial pillar. Be like the other 5 wise virgins and be prepared. It's biblical. I'm not making this stuff up. I know we don't hear this all the time. You know, I know that we spend, at least 2 days a week and we hear stuff. But this is real. The 10 virgins was real. 5 of them were foolish because they weren't prepared. But they said they had the same opportunity to be prepared as the other 5. But you know what the other 5 did? They didn't have to sit down and have a migraine. You know what they did? They moved on. And they met their purpose. Hello, somebody. They met their purpose. But those other 5, guess where they sitting at? That's why we have to make sure that we understand this thing. Money answers all things, man. Y'all better get with that seriously. We need to start building assets and eliminating liabilities. That's how you become debt free. So let's say you eliminate a credit card that you was paying $100 a month. Take that and put it to the side. Don't even touch it. You was giving it to the credit card company. So why not put it to the side? You ain't been getting it in 2 years. 2 years you haven't gotten that money. So why just go ahead and just set it aside? That's $100. That's $1,200 a year. So if you did that for 2 years, now in 2 years you got $2,400 of your own money that you're not giving to the credit card company. See? So it's building up. So now you can take that $2,400. That's more now than you started off with just $100. See how you started off with $100? Okay, there's this thing I wanted to make sure that I read because I know I'm running short on time. Diligence. Here it is right here. I want to say it's him. Oh, here we go. Matthew 24:14. Make sure you go check out this scripture because this is really important. This is stewardship. We own nothing. We are only overseers and managers. That's all we are. However we manage is what we get. If we're good managers, we get more. Here's what it says. God allows us to use his resources. Okay? And if we manage them well, in Matthew 25:14, it tells us how a man entrusted his property to his servants with the S on the end. Servants. He knew each of them personally. He knew how they managed their business, their homes, and their children. Therefore, read the word, therefore, he gave each of them according to what they could manage. He knew each of them personally. He knew how they managed their businesses, their homes, and their children. Therefore, he gave them each according to what they could manage. And that's how God does us. So when you sit back here and you think it's a miracle or a mighty move of God, and I'm not saying that it's not, that you got a 5-bedroom house, well, guess what you did? You managed your business, which was you kept your credit good. You got an 800 credit score. You got money in the bank for a down payment. You got zero bring to the table. You know why? Because you manage your business well. So why would you not be able to go and get a 5-bedroom house with zero down at an 800? Why? Why not? Because the word clearly says that you will be entrusted because you manage your business well. So it's no mystery, it's no miracle, boo. It's no miracle that you got a promotion. You know why? Because you come to work on time. You there before the bosses. You there before the head honchos. You the last one to leave. The people see your diligence, they watch it. So you're not trying to kiss. That's just who you are. That's your makeup. That's your, because you have discipline. You're not trying to impress nobody. That's who you are. So no, there's no miracle why you got a promotion. There's no miracle why you got an increase in your salary. You managed well. It's a principle. You manage well, you get more. You don't manage well, you go back to the story of the talents. I'm not making this stuff up. People, go back to the story of the talents. He entrusted them. What are you going to do with your talent? What? Oh, well, I know my boss is a tough man, so I'm not going to. Okay. You really need to get an understanding. You eliminate frustration that way, seriously. If you want to be entrusted, it doesn't matter what the institution is. I don't care if it's a financial institute, if it's on your job. If you want to be entrusted, manage your business well. Manage your business well. That's the principle. Let me tell you something. People can't overlook you. They can't. Now, it may seem like they are, but the people who really need to see you, they watch it, they see you. So you keep doing what you're supposed to be doing, and that's being diligent so that you can manage well what's been entrusted to you. That's why we're stewards. Budgeting, keeping a record of all your spending. Keeping a record of all your spending. That is, let me go back. The budgeting part. The part that nobody likes to do. But guess what? You're only a steward. So budgeting is keeping you in track with managing what's been entrusted to you. So if God allows you to make $100,000 a year, or your job pays you $100,000 a year, then God is entrusting you with that $100,000 a year. Because guess what? It ain't yours. It ain't only belong to the company. They just being a connector. They just, kind of connecting you with the money. That's all. But keep good records, all your monthly expenses, everything from your rent to your lights, car payment, everything. Can't say that enough. Everything. And then plan. Plan what you're going to do with that discretionary income. Once you get your budget made out. Then once you start saving, you see, okay, well, I'll cut out $100 a month. Yay, you got $100 discretionary income. I don't care if it's $50. Put it aside. Let it grow. If you paid it to somebody for 10 years, guess what? Now you don't have to pay them for 10 years. You save it for yourself for 10 years. And watch what happens. Get out of debt if you can. I mean, that's the whole thing. God doesn't want us to be bound out with debt, because that's basically slavery. Because now you enslaved to going to work, because now you go into a job, because now you gotta pay your debt. Proverbs 22:7 equates having debt to being a slave. That's what Proverbs 22:7 equates having debt to being a slave.
Deuteronomy 15:6 clearly tells us we are to be the lender and not the borrower. Clearly, I mean, it's there. 15:6. Okay, so once you save some money, you got your discretionary income, and you saved it for 5 years. So now you went from having $100 a month. Now you saved $5,000. Yay! Okay, so now that you saved the $5,000, you want to know what to do with it. Because you don't want to throw it away. Your blood, sweat, and tears went into this money, so you just don't want to throw it away. So you want to seek godly counsel. Okay? And when I say godly counsel, understand that your money has a purpose in this earth. It has a purpose. So what you want to do is you want to know, what is the purpose for your money? Okay. When I got into insurance, I thought insurance was a good avenue because it does so many things. So we're going to take a quick break, and now we're going to talk about where I think is a very safe place. And I'm not promoting, I'm not selling nothing, because I don't even do that anymore. But I can tell you the importance of it, because I want you to know that once you save the little nest egg, let me tell you where you can put that, where I know it's going to be safe, where you'll never have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about the market crashing and losing it. You don't have to worry about any of that. So this is Greta Ross with Mind Body Soul Shift. We'll be right back. We're still talking about the financial pillar. We'll be right back. Hey, Greta Ross here, back with Mind Body Soul Shift, and I'm going to wrap this thing up, but I want to talk about life insurance. I know that's a subject that most people don't talk about, and I'm not talking about it from the aspect of trying to sell nobody no life insurance. Please understand that I don't even sell life insurance anymore. It was great when I did. I learned so much about it. The do's and don'ts. I didn't realize that there was things that you won't be able to have in your life. You can be restricted to being qualified for life insurance. But I want to share another side of the benefits of life insurance. Because people think it's for just when you die, and then you get this money, or somebody gets the money and they get to live this lifestyle, this lavish lifestyle, because you left them $10,000. But let me share with you what I learned about the benefits of life insurance, and how it can really be a blessing to you, especially if you've eliminated some debt and you have like a little nest egg set aside, like $5,000 or something like that, that you actually want to invest somewhere, because the Bible does say seek godly counsel, and I believe that wholeheartedly, especially when it comes to your money, because money does have a purpose in the earth. So let me tell you what I feel about life insurance and why I feel so strongly about it. Life insurance can be used for so many tools. Number one, you can buy life insurance policies for your child from day one when they're born, and you can pay into a particular policy. Now, when I talk about this is a particular type of policy, and of course, if you're looking for something like this, I can happily refer you to someone that I trust very much that will, give you the very best information. But and I've seen it work. I know that this works. This is not textbook. This is not something on paper. This isn't statistics. This is something that I know that works, where people will buy a policy for their child when their child is born. And let's say on the low end, they put $500 a month. And on the high end, they may do up to $1,500 a month. So you have the low end of $500 and the high end of $1,500. But these are people, of course, are of different social status. But I just want to show you the power of what you can do with it, even if you just have a little nest egg and you can just say, oh, okay, I want to do this. So let's say you put $500 a month into an insurance policy. For your baby when your child is born. You can pay $500 a month for 10 years, and then you won't have to put any more money into that policy after that. And then you can, when that child turns a certain age, that child can either collect that money, tax-free, because you put into it, and it has accumulated interest, depending on what the insurance company is paying. When I was in the business, of course, you're looking at 7, 8, 9% interest on that kind of money. So if you kept that until the child turns 10 and you didn't do anything else with it, and you just put money in there for the first 10 years, then when that child gets to be a certain age, you can go back and say, well, here, use this for your college fund. Well, that child can sit back and collect, $25,000, $30,000 a year, if not more, depending on how much you put into the policy, a year tax-free. Now, my niece went to law school and undergraduate school. By the time she got out of school, she had $300,000 in student loans. She got married, but how do you buy a home when you're $300,000 in debt already? So if you buy a $300,000 house, now you're $600,000 in debt. So, it just has this whole trickling effect. But had her parents bought her a life insurance policy when she was born, she could have used that very same money to help with her college education. Now, another good point about life insurance is, let's say you get a life insurance policy and you've paid into it for the last 10 years, and you get sick, okay? And you get sick where you have to be out of work, but you don't have enough money to cover so that you can continue to have an income. Well, you could have a life insurance policy that's designed so that you will be able to use a portion of your life insurance while you're sick. So that way you still have the income coming in that's at least taking care of your medical care, and it's taking the strain off of you so that you don't have to have the stress of figuring out how am I going to get treated for cancer and pay my bills. Because if I have a choice between the income that I have and I have to pay for chemotherapy or pay my mortgage payment, I have to pay for the chemotherapy. But the life insurance, you can accelerate those benefits, which will help you to be able to pay for those treatments. Now, what you're doing is you're taking away from the death benefits, and you can talk to the insurance agency and they will explain all of that to you. But that's why it's a life insurance policy, because you can use it while you're still living. Because people get stricken with cancer and things that they cannot go to work. That means they no longer have an income. And when you don't have an income, you have no means of paying your bills. What are you going to do? That's why having a life insurance policy that you will be able to accelerate your benefits will help you. That's why life insurance is important. It's not just for when you die. Yes, you get death benefits, but you also can use it as a tool for your retirement, for college education, or even if you get sick, to accelerate your benefits. So life insurance have a lot of benefits. So if you have any money that's discretionary income and you want to find a good place without risk, because there's zero risk in life insurance, zero. Anything that I have anything to do with, even Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest men in America, 90% of his money is in life insurance. Yeah, he even owns a life insurance company. So yeah, because it's the safest place to put your money. Again, I don't sell life insurance anymore. I'm not trying to get no business. Please understand that. However, I have someone who's dear to me that if you are looking for something to do with your money and you want someone that you can trust, I have someone that I could definitely refer you to, because you have to get godly counsel. And I think that's really important, because your money has a purpose and you want it to serve its purpose, because you want to keep your financial pillar strong, so that it doesn't affect your well-being, your health, and your physical being. So this is Greta Ross. Take a look at your notes. Go back and put this on rewind. If you missed it today, please feel free to go to my YouTube channel. I always post it there. You need to get this, because if there's a weak crack in your financial pillar, you're going to keep on having the migraines. You can keep taking all the prescription drugs you want, but until you fix the crack, if that is your crack, you got to fix it. You got to fix it. So examine your financial pillar. Please examine your financial pillar. I pray that this has been a blessing to you. This is Greta Ross of Mind, Body, Soul Shift. Thank you for joining us this week. Next week, we're going to get into the emotional, environmental, and spiritual pillars. We're going to kind of combine them all together, which we're going to probably take that 4 or 5, maybe even 6 weeks. That's not going to be a quick subject. We're going to take our time and dive into that. But next week, we're definitely going to start to peel the onion of the emotional pillar. And we're also going to kick off the Soul Survivor segment. We're going to have Phaedra and a special guest on our next show. So please join us next Saturday here on Mind, Body, Soul Shift. Look at your notes from the financial pillar. It will bless you. This is Greta Ross on Mind, Body, Soul Shift. We'll see you on next Saturday. Peace out.